presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 elections and former vice president of Nigeria, that's Atiku Abubakar, says he has no plan to form a new political party ahead of the 2027 polls. Abubakar, in a statement on Tuesday, described the claim as pure mischief devoid of truth. The former vice president expressed commitment and loyalty to the PDP and urged members of the public to disregard reports about his purported plans to create a new political party. Well, Dayo and Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss the plan or the call for opposition parties to come together ahead of the 2027 general election and how this could be achieved. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure being here.
Right. Now, in terms of how realistic the implementation of this could be, do you think it could happen?
Well, it could happen. There is a timing. The timing. This is 2024. The president has not spent a year in office, and people are talking of a new election. It's jumping the gun. But then, see, it's to create, to me, a political diversion. Because if we must face what Atiku has said, then we must take it in the context in which he has said it. It was even reported that it was comparing Nigeria with what happened in Senegal, which is very apt, but then the contexts are different. And you see, what happened in Senegal even happened in Nigeria too, on the eve of the election. It was not as mammoth as what happened in Senegal. You know what happened in Senegal is that the person who is now elected president was a surrogate for the party's presidential candidate who was imprisoned, but who was dramatically, after the ruling of the Constitutional Court, ruled that he was illegally disqualified because he had a defamation case and was allowed to contest. But by then, he had put in a surrogate. And the man who won, the young man, was saying that he and that man were the same person. If it were possible to reverse the presidential nomination, they would have done it, but the law does not allow it. But that is what happened. And the electorate in Senegal was quite logical and vibrant and very legalistic about it. I want to know a few things about Senegal. The president who was forced to go out tomorrow, April 2nd, he had postponed the election till December before they persuaded him to bring it back to July. And people still insisted no. They were going to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court was ruling against the plan of that president to tenaciously cling to office. He was not allowed to cling to office. And Senegal is a largely Muslim country, or 94% of the people are Muslim. But this sit-tight president happens to be a Christian. It got to a stage when they were insisting that the Constitutional Court was insisting that the election must go on before April 2nd, which is tomorrow. Some people were saying, but Ramadan, they have to make preparation for, no. The court and the electorate and the political said, no, they are ready to do everything, even in Ramadan. So it's a lesson in commitment and political purity. People were detained. All sorts of cases were brought against them. But at the end of the day, this man won the election. He was brought from prison. Not many people have been brought from prison like that. Nkrumah Mandela. So I think the guy has a great future, given his baptism of fire into power in Senegal. And the equivalent of that, like I said, in Nigeria is the Obi phenomenon, whether you like it or not. Because you know it was on the eve of the election. He was in PDP. He bolted. Some people don't like that one. On the eve of to Labour Party, and they welcomed him with open arms. And you saw the wonders he did. He got the third of the presidential vote. If he had been there earlier, You can imagine what would have happened. But then, that is our own situation. So for Atiku to say that he will not form a new party, but it's ready for them to form coalition, it's a logical thing. And like he said, and he was in PDP, you get me? That when the APC were about to defeat them in 2015, they formed a coalition to bring in APC. If you cannot face somebody unilaterally, you have to coalesce, or else he will crush you. They did that, although not many of us were happy with the way Jonathan considered defeat, given the political culture of this country. The person he considered defeat to, the last 2-3 elections, threatened to burn down the country if he lost the election. But Jonathan did not do that. That is the lesson to be learned from Jonathan. People should not put a gun to the head of the electoral managers or the electoral process if they lose elections. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sobowale, I love that you've gone into detail with the case of Senegal, and I just like to pull from that, you know, from the unraveling of events there. I interviewed one of the opposition leaders, and I remember he was saying the mood in the country is that people are ready for anybody but Macky Sall. And it was quite profound to me because I remember when people were ready for anybody but Jonathan, and then people said anybody but Buhari. You know, there's always been an anybody but type of politics. My question is, how do we move from this? Because you look at Senegal, and it's possibly a little bit too soon for us to say that it's a success for Senegal, because this man who, although he may be young, is just a tax collector. He doesn't have much experience. So let's see how it goes. So isn't it too early for us to start saying, let's learn lessons from Senegal, when we've also been through the era of anything but somebody politics, and it hasn't necessarily moved us forward?
Have you landed?
I've landed.
I don't buy your anything but politics. This was an electoral process. And see, let us sort them out. In the case of the president, the sit-tight president of Senegal, he had used 2 terms. He was trying to extend his tenure. That's illegal. That was what brought people against him. And they did it legitimately. He's still there. Get me? He even tried to blackmail the Constitutional Court by saying that some of them are taking graft and bribe. But people kept to their guns and insisted that he must go. Or that they didn't even say he must go. They said they must have the election. And the election must be within his tenure. And they got their way through and then don't forget, this is anything but something, no? It comes out of performance. If you perform well, nobody will say anything but you. That's performance. And the performance, good political performance, is the only antidote against coups in West Africa. And don't forget that even ECOWAS, EU, they all put pressure on SAR, politely but firmly, that please respect your constitution. And they yielded. So it's not a matter of anything but. And then it's not too early to say that, to predict this guy will perform well, given the way he got there. Just like in our own case, we are almost a year now. But the criticism is like the president, should not even be there. You see, let us learn from the tone. You get me? I'm not saying Senegal is the more mature democracy than us. But like I said, it is a largely Muslim country, almost 100%. And they elected a Christian. And then that Christian, after 2 years, they said, must go. So nobody mentioned religion.
Speaking of,
so we should learn from that.
Of religion, Mr. Sobowale,
yes.
Of course, you spoke very well. Some of the challenges that have been highlighted when it comes to our democracy is that we tend to focus on ethnicity and religion. And what is being said, the advantage of coming together is that it will shift the focus from ethnicity and religion to issue-based politics. So based on the fact that this is being proposed at this time, and that most of these parties have different ideologies. Do you really think it's still too early to make this call, so that they might need to make this call
in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, to make this call, since these parties have different ideologies, probably, that they're working with.
Yes, they have different ideologies, but you see, the politics of power is competition. You sell your ideology to the electorate. I'm not talking of rigging or what. On a level playing field. On a level playing field, yeah, doing 100-meter dash. You all live together. Nobody jumps the gun. And if it is fair competition, the party that wins must enjoy the laurels of office, which is what has happened in Senegal now. The incumbent did not want to go. You see, I don't want to say too much about Nigeria, because we're all Nigerians. You know what is happening here. You get me? But they had a far worse scenario than Nigeria, and they survived it. But even here in Nigeria, the opposition, the people who lost the election, are still not reconciled to the fact that they lost the election. It's as if this presidency has no mandate. Such bitterness was not there in the way the Senegal. You get what I'm saying? A country 90% Muslim. You know what people are doing here with the Christian, Muslim picket? At every drop of a gun, they threaten the presidency that we put you there. No, I don't buy into that. But then we'll sort ourselves out. That is our lot. Yes.
And very quickly before we go, Mr. Sobowale,
yes,
is there any other way to defeat a ruling party in Nigeria than to come up with a coalition?
But there should be. That is, okay, there should be. And you see, don't take things for granted. You see, politics is work in progress. It's a dynamic situation. That is Atiku's own thinking. You get it? Who knows who will come out? A dark horse can come out. You see what is going on in Labour now. The NLC is claiming his party back, and they are going to court. You get me? Even Atiku's party, you know, their own problem. And he said he won't leave the party. I know the state they are in. My personal advice for him will be for him to rejuvenate his party, because I believe it is a very strong party. It's been in power for a long time. It cannot just go away like that. And then if they must form coalition, let them form coalition with people who are standing on two legs. not one-legged people who got into prominence on the eve of elections. We are all in this soup now.
Okay, good advice. Yeah, standing on two legs, not limping.
For now, we'd like to thank you for your insight, as always, Mr. Dayo Sobowale, a Risings analyst. Thank you so much for joining us here on this day. Thank you.
Right.